Hello, everyone. Welcome back to yet another political episode. Today, we are struck with a tragic death. I wouldn't say today, because he died on the 20th of March. And that is the 13th Secretary of State, Ralph Munro. And he is one of the said Republican Secretary of States. Very popular, very well-liked in Washington. Has made gains in his said runs for Secretary of State multiple times, and he's become a political juggernaut. Unlike today, Washington is very liberal because of Seattle, Olympia, and their colleges in the said west of the state. So ultimately, let's just say I want to read a little bit about his career, since actually I could just read. I guess I could read all of it because it's barely an article altogether. So, Ralph Davies Munro was an American Republican politician who served as the 13th Secretary of State of Washington. First elected in 1980, he served 5 terms. Munro was born on June 25th, 1943 in Seattle, Washington, and grew up on Bainbridge Island. He was a graduate of Western Washington University and held a BA in Education and Political Science. Munro's first job was the state. With the state was a supply clerk working in the basement of the Capitol building. Sounds like a fun job, but Governor Daniel J. Evans appointed Munro as the state's first volunteer coordinator in 1969. Munro was member of a bipartisan commission on federal election reform and strongly advocated for expanding vote by mail. So apparently, would I say he's more of a moderate? Yeah. I mean, usually the bipartisan Republicans tend to be more moderate and bipartisan Democrats more moderate. I can't necessarily say he's a liberal, seeing that this article provides no proof and evidence of such. But he died in the city of Lacey, Washington on March 20th, 2025 at the age of 81. And that's pretty much the whole article. So with that being said, we're just going to go ahead and jump into the electoral history because his electoral history is pretty lengthy. For a tiny article, we have a lot to talk about. And we could have, with the electoral history, you could have added much more. You could have added that he was elected to the office in 1980, defeating Democrat Ron Dotzer. Let's just go ahead and look at the primaries. Republican primaries. Is there a primary? I don't think. Oh, yes, there is. This is open primary. And yes, you'll see it in the open primaries. Yeah, you'll see he does way better. Ralph Munro, he wins 25.86%. I believe you don't need a certain majority in Washington in order to of course pass, become the nominee. Whoever majority wins altogether. Along with Kent, he was a nominee along. I want to say Republican Kent Poulin came in second. And it was really Democrats that were just hurting each other. They were split ticketing. You have Ron Dotzer. He was the Democratic nominee, despite coming in last place, while Kent Poulin is of course, this might be Poulin. Poulin came in second. So you would think it would be a Republican versus Republican. No, in Washington, you must have a Democrat and a Republican. And it doesn't matter if all these are Republicans. The Democrat would, of course, win there. But you'll see he carried northern Washington, even King County. And really, it's just the areas along the Oregon border around Portland. Even this county right here, Clark County, which is influenced by Portland and Multnomah County, but also these college counties, I want to believe. In the general election, you can clearly see that he picked up, Munro picked up this county. It's not showing me the letter, not showing me the label there, unfortunately. But he picked up that county, and However, Ron Dotzer managed to flip this county. It's not showing me these two counties. It's weird. But this is Snohomish County, whatever it's called, and Ferry County, going for the Democrats. And they're pretty liberal back then. This county was liberal, and although it's fairly Republican today because of those Cascades, they divide the state politically. The east of the Cascades is more conservative, influenced by conservative Idaho. But of course, farmer labor is a Democrat issue in the 80s. And of course, this being a farming county, it would benefit Democrats there. All right, so what happens in 1984? And Washington has their elections during the presidential year. And you would say, oh, maybe Ronald Reagan is cocktailing Munro. And I would assume so, seeing that he tends to do his best performances in Republican years. But this is Washington primary elections, even Secretary of State. Interesting, because, he also ran in a primary also. 63.71% for Ralph Munro. Kent Poulin, 36%. So I'm guessing what happened in 1980 is they did a Republican primary. It was a long run for the Republicans. Okay? Ralph Munro wasn't officially nominated. He ran in a primary, but he had to run in an open primary in 1980. Why do you have to do that? I'm like, seriously. But after he ran in the open primary, now he ran in the general election. So he won all three elections, becoming the Secretary of State. And he runs for re-election ultimately. And he is going to win re-election. Pretty big. As you can clearly see, he manages to trounce his turnout in King County, 63%. You don't see that today. It's really these rural counties like Grays Harbor County, Pacific County, Waukegan County, Cowlitz County, and Sacamania County, which are mainly in the influence of Democrats. Clark County, pretty Democrat. We went to the Democrat last in the open primary. But this time, Republicans had an edge there. Mainly because Multnomah County was pretty Republican, Portland pretty Republican, pretty moderate, unlike today. But it was pretty moderate back then. Where's open primaries? Okay, we do not have an open primary for 1984. I am not unaware of. Let's see if there's a Republican primary. No, there was not. That makes our job much easier, though. Okay, so obviously it was a pretty big win against John O. McKee, who picked up these counties. Pretty rural, but some have some colleges and institutions. Must be honest with that. But going to 1988. Munro is reelected again, and he does even better. This time he's cranking up a performance of 62. Same performance in King. But he did, by county-wise, do better. Like Klinkitat County, 56%. Sacania County, 51%. Clark County is at 56%. And Cowlitz County at 50%. And his opponent, John O. McKee, again. He is picking up those coastal counties. Pacific County is probably the most Democratic county in the state so far. Grays Harbor County, 50.3% for McKee. And Waukegan County, 52.8%. So, obviously, a pretty big win, seeing that you got the areas you need, carrying the areas you need in order to win the election, which is, of course, King County, the surrounding suburbs, the surrounding counties. So that was a pretty big win for him. I'm going to see there's probably no Republican primary going up to, the last Republican primary is going to be 2000. He doesn't run for re-election in 2000. open primaries. Yeah, there's a dog in the background in case you guys can't hear him. It's so annoying. Okay, so 1988, 1992. Oh, you see, okay, this is an interesting performance because he does kind of worse. His performance goes down, but he does gain, and he kind of loses counties. So the last performance, he lost Wickicombe County and Grays Harbor counties. But those counties actually went to Munro this time. What didn't go to Munro? Take a look at Cowlitz County. Cowlitz County actually went to the Democrat opponent, Gene Dixon, along with Sakamia County and the eastern county of Assotin. Assotin is probably the best county that Dixon performed in, honestly. Interestingly enough, because Republicans have carried that county, and Munro especially. But I am going to say it's probably because of the split ticketing. Morris Willey is making it kind of difficult for Ralph Munro, and maybe taking a bit from Dixon. I would imagine he's taking a bit more from Munro because we're seeing Munro struggle in counties that he's done really well in, like Cowlitz County, Sakamia County, and Assotin counties. Pacific County, and yeah, he flipped Gray Harbor and Wickicombe County for the very first time in his career, which is good. And by this take, he's carrying every county except for Pacific County in his register. But I'm guessing she might have to be from Assotin County, or it's just the Libertarians over there. I am not so sure, but it was mainly a split ticket year. You had Morris Willey, who did a decent performance. She took 3.12%. That's pretty good from Munro, that bringing him to 56%. But that was the election of 1992. The election of 1996, though, you'll clearly see that is going to be his last run, and he almost carried every county. He couldn't carry Pacific, though. He was so close, though. He was so close. What prevented him? Well, you could say Gary Gill from Natural Law was taking votes. Natural Law, let's see, Natural Law, Washington. Natural Law Party. Okay, so it's more civil libertarianism, environmentalism. It's more center, transcendental meditation, whatever that is. It dissolved in 2004, so it was mainly in Washington. Actually, no, hang on. Natural Law. This is that. Oh, it's in Michigan. Shoot, where's the Natural Law Party in Washington? Natural Law Party, Washington. Okay. I'm not so sure on what the political perspective. Oh, this is their Democratic Party has a new logo. Interesting. This is their new logo, guys. Okay, so I got distracted, but you get what I'm saying here. 48.8%, 47.3%. And afterward, he does not run for re-election. He is deciding, it's best for me. I've had my time. I'm going to retire. Then again, Republicans... Oh, this is state comptroller. Never mind. We gotta go find state... Secretary of State. 2000. Yes, he doesn't run for re-election. Of course, he will finish the remaining year there. But it was much closer. But Republicans, they win the said election in the 2000 election. It was a pretty close one, very close, but Sam Reed became the next Secretary of State. So there you guys have it. I tried to include the primaries. I can't find them all, but that's perfectly fine, in other words. But what do you guys think? Then again, rest in peace, Ralph Munro. It is sad to have you go at the age of 81. You usually, 81 is when you start to consider your age and your well-being, your health. But we all have someone knowing in their 80s, and you see people in their 90s, so you kind of downplay that possibility, and then it takes us by surprise. So we totally know how the family of Ralph Munro feels in this moment. So what do you guys think? Let me know down below, and as always, I'll see you all in the next political episode.